All right. Well, I have just one more email that I would like to get to before we wrap up for the night. Are you all ready?
Yes.
All right. I will say this is fairly cut down just to keep us on track for the night. So let me start kind of here in the middle. As someone who has sold sex both in ways that are legal in the UK where I live and also in ways that break the law, I was somewhat disappointed by the way the videos I watched handled the discussion of sex worker rights. The writer here is referring to the series we did in September with Rudy B. and Alice Little and Amberly Rothfield. The writer goes on to say, other people who watched the show discussed the idea of legalization around me, saying they fully supported sex work and making it legal and regulated. Given that both in the UK and the US, the vast majority of sex worker rights organizations want decriminalization because it's notably safer for sex workers, I was disappointed that the show had that particular impression on them. So this is in response to a conversation we had about either legalization or decriminalization of sex work. And frankly, having thought about this since that conversation, I feel that I, for one, got the idea a little bit wrong. So let me invite the two of y'all to jump in a little bit and give whatever take feels right to you.
I think we're both waiting for the other one to go first. Sarah, would you like to jump in?
I got nothing.
Yeah, well, no, that's totally fair.
Stumped to death. This must make you immortal, right? Like if you stump death, then
yeah,
you do not
actually, die. I feel
you
like
officially get to come back to life now.
Cool. All right.
I'm excited to hear what you've learned, Christy. I know that I learned a lot about sex work from the September sex work series. And I've engaged very briefly on conversations about the difference between legalizing and decriminalizing, especially as it pertains to other things like drugs. But I'm curious about the nuances of kind of what you've discovered as you've worked through this.
Yeah, well, I don't mean to slow roll the setup, but the truth is, I even said in my response email to this writer that as soon as I like kind of listened back to the tape and recognized the way that I had addressed a version of this question a couple of months ago, it stuck with me. Because while I didn't say anything I don't still believe or agree with, I really didn't give a nuanced understanding of the argument. So to do that now to some extent, I'll effectively say that I do, on paper, really support the idea of sex work legalization, of creating a system of licensure, of training, of making sure that sex workers are both unionized and protected, but that also their clients are protected. And I think that there is incredible value in that idea in some sort of like utopian society that definitely doesn't exist on Earth. You know, I think it's a little Pollyanna-ish to believe that that is the best way to protect our sex workers in the here and now. So to that end, decriminalization would allow sex workers to continue what they're doing without having all of the incredible pressure and discrimination that they experienced from the law, as well as from other people and businesses and all of these kinds of things. It's certainly a nuanced position, and I want to recognize that these are complicated ideas, and frankly, that they're ideas we would like to be doing a better job of discussing this on this show. You know, we have worked to find a expert or a representative from a sex workers union or a sex workers rights lobby, and just haven't necessarily met the right person to have that conversation. But it's an important one to be looking into. And maybe there's somebody listening tonight that would be willing to give up an evening of their time and walk us through some of the complexities of these ideas. So that's it for me. That's me kind of walking back something we said in the past, while also recognizing that these are really complicated ideas, and that there is a lot of oppression on the sex worker community. And I hope we highlighted that effectively in some of the work that we did back in September, but there's a lot more to acknowledge, including the fact that many, if not perhaps most sex workers actually do operate outside the law and experience incredibly high rates of victimhood. That's not universal. I don't mean to say in the least bit that sex work is inherently dangerous. I will say that there are a lot of vulnerabilities in that population, and it concerns me. So I appreciate y'all taking the time to kind of help clear the mailbag. I know we've got just a few more left in here that we may hold on to for a rainy day. But also to say to the audience, we would love to be getting more mail. We've got a couple of opportunities coming up as the holidays approach, and we would love to be listening to your voicemails. We'd love to be reading your messages, whether that's through email or through the Facebook fan group, through any of these other platforms and ways of getting a hold of us. I mean, track V down on Twitter, track Serafina down at a funeral. Like, wherever you can find us, we want to hear what you have to say and what you're curious about.
And as always, can we get the crew cam up here so we can look at the lovely people who hypnotize us every week with their massive amounts of technology skills. Yeah, if you're interested in reaching out and getting in touch, we have a myriad of ways in which you can do that. We also have a Discord and Twitter at Secular Sex. And you really, if you're stuck inside and maybe feeling a little lonely this holiday season, because this holiday season can be a little bit tricky for us anyway, and now with COVID it might get even a little bit more depressing. We're going to be here. We're going to be making sure that we are on your screens on Thursday. So do us a favor, send along a message so we can communicate with y'all.
All right. Well, with that, we are definitely looking forward to seeing each of you next week. But whether it's hypnotically or in a live action role play, whether you are in costume or alive or dead, I think we want to encourage everybody out there to go and give themselves a big old orgasm. Or better yet, give somebody else one.